Hello and welcome to part 2 of this introduction to Prezi. In part 1 we created an account, had a look at some examples of Prezis and also investigated some of the functionality and the landscape of Prezi. This film is going to go into a bit more depth and we'll create a Prezi from scratch using Liz Lochhead's poem Revelation as the example. Okay, so that's us ready to start adding our text. Now if you remember, this Prezi is going to be on the subject of Revelation, so I already have an open Word document with the text of the poem. So we're going to be flitting between the Word document and our Prezi. So back on the Word document, I'm going to right click on Revelation and copy. Then we flit back to the landscape. Click anywhere to add an idea. Now here's a new feature. When you click on a piece of text, a wheel appears, and I'm going to give you a bit more about the wheel shortly. But for this moment, if you double click on the text, you're allowed to scroll inside and edit. So in this case, we're just going to paste over the text that was there, Revelation, and if you grab that blue bar, you're able to move the text around. Okay, now if we click on it again, let's look at one of the functions of the wheel. You have the option to increase the size of the text using that little plus button. Okay, so back at the text itself by Liz Lochhead, right click and copy. Now on the canvas now, if we just double click anywhere on the canvas, this little box appears and we can paste any text inside. So again, click down on the new piece of text and we're going to increase the size of it. Zooming in even further, you'll notice that this little blue dashed line appears. This allows you to center text, so quite helpful. Okay, now I'm also just going to change the whole look of this Prezi to Night Talk. So if we just hit that button, you see the whole thing sweeps across and we now have a whole new look for our presentation. Following the same pattern as before, I've speeded up this section just to give you an idea how quickly you can flit between your Word document and your Prezi in order to paste the different elements of text onto the landscape that is Prezi. So I think you'll agree that it's very, very straightforward. You're just copying and pasting from Word straight onto the landscape, increasing the size of that box, making any adjustments, and that's you've got all your elements there. So having finished placing our textual elements, let's just zoom out so that you can have a look at the overall structure of the presentation as it stands at the moment. So it's literally just a blue canvas with various pieces of Lochhead's text floating on it. Now if we just zoom in, we can very quickly manhandle the different pieces of text just by clicking down on them and then using the little hand and dragging, so we can just create a bit of space between the different elements, which is always useful because we're going to be adding images and clips between the texts. So there we are. Let's just zoom out one more time. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is to plot our pathway between the different elements. Before that though, I'm going to put a frame around the title, and I'm actually going to go for a hidden frame. So we click on the hidden frame and then clicking just above the upper left hand corner of Revelation, click down and drag till we've covered both the title and by Liz Lochhead, and that's as we've created an invisible frame around the home piece of text. Now we're going to add a pathway, so we make sure add path. First thing that we want people to see is Revelation, so we just click on that and you see the number 1 appears. Then the next piece of text is going to be where we want to visit next, so that's going to be number 2 and number 3 and number 4, 5, 6, 7. So much like the constellation of Cassiopeia, we have our pathway plotted between the different pieces of text that make up the first stanza of Lochhead's poem. And just to prove that the pathway does indeed work, we're going to hit the show button in the lower right hand corner. We're going to click on our title, which will zoom into focus, and then each time we hit the forward arrow we'll be taken to each of the next pieces of Lochhead's text. And you can control this either with the forward arrow on the screen, or you can use your arrow on your keyboard. So that's us now ready to add some colour to our presentation. So we're going to go to the menu in the upper left and hit the Insert button, and we're going to choose Image, and when we do that, this box appears. Now we can find images directly from the web and insert them, or we can select files from our computer. So in fact, the pupils did a lot of work searching images that reflected some of the thematic material of Lochhead's poem. So this first one they discovered, we're going to place onto our Prezi canvas. So if we open that, and there it is loading directly onto the canvas. If we click on it, the wheel appears. We're just going to reduce the size of it, then use the little hand to drag it down to here. Okay, we're now going to put a second image onto our presentation. So image, select from computer. This was rather a good one. It was a Sun headline regarding Peter Andre tickets. So we're going to open this, and it seemed to have been a revelation that so many were sold. At least I think that was a revelation. So we click on that and we reduce the size of it, and we're going to drag it up to here. Okay, and then one last representation of Revelation that they discovered. It was rather a lovely image of dawn. So we'll just find that on the computer, and there it's there. We just click on that, double click. It loads straight onto the canvas. Please wait. Image appears. We're just going to click on it, reduce the size, and then drag it out the way of the text. Okay, so that's us. So we've added our images. We now need to make sure that the images appear on our path. So if we click the path button, and we can see the path avoids the pictures. So we're going to find a place for the first Revelation image between 1 and 2. So in the center of that, there's a little bubble. If we just click on that, drag it down, and release when we're on the picture is now part of the path. And there we are. The second picture has been added. And now the last one between 3 and 4, we just click down in the central point, drag down, and there we are. So now all of our pictures are part of our presentation. We've seen how then to add images to our Prezi. I think it'd be useful now to show you how to add a YouTube clip to the presentation. So we'll just move the presentation along a little, click on the Insert button, and this time we're going to add a YouTube clip. This box will appear, inviting us to paste a YouTube clip into this field. So in a separate window, we've already searched for an appropriate YouTube clip. So in this case, Chicken Heaven. We're going to copy the URL. Then back at the Prezi, we are just going to paste it directly into this field here. And insert. And there we are. The YouTube clip becomes part of the Prezi landscape. We can move it around as we did with text and image. We reduce the size of it, and now all that remains is to add it to our pathway. So if we return to the menu and click on Path, the path will reveal itself, and this is going to be the first clip that will introduce the second stanza of Lochhead's poem. So just clicking it will add it to the end of our pathway. And now if we hit the Show button and then click the YouTube clip itself, the film will appear and it will just begin playing. So that's us. You've learned how to add text and image and video clip to your Prezi, and you've learned some of the functions provided by the menu. So really it's up to you now to have a look at some of the other possibilities using each of these little bubbles on the Prezi menu. And just to give you an idea, this is in fact a finished version of the Revelation presentation, which you'll be able to view if you click on the following link. So I hope you've enjoyed this and will be able to make some use of Prezi in your own classroom practice.